Hello everybody and welcome back to the Blue Snot channel. So the last game of this opening weekend of the MLS season has just finished. As you can see, Portland and the Galaxy, with the Galaxy winning 2-1, and of course we'll get to that game last. But yeah, I mean, the MLS season is finally back and we had 10 games to kind of digest for this first week of the MLS season, and there was a lot of good games, a lot of surprises, a lot of goals debuted by each teams, and there was a lot of upsets. And speaking of which, let's get to those upset, and let's get to this one first. Toronto lose to Columbus 2-0 at BMO Field. Higuain with the goal and Zardes with a goal. Yep. That's right, Jarzy Zardes has actually scored a goal. I think this is his first goal in like literally a million years. I genuinely don't remember the last time he actually scored a goal for the Galaxy, and he scored on his debut for Columbus. Now, I'm not going to be jumping on the Zardes bandwagon and just say that he's going to turn it up and he's going to repeat that form it is. And for those of you that keeps saying that he's going to do it, just hold on a minute, okay? This is just one game, okay? And okay, yes, it was against Toronto, and that might have add the extra hype, but still, at the end of the day, it's only one game, and if he can continue to do it in a consistent pace in these next couple of games, then maybe he could come back to that 2015 or 2014 form that he was in, and maybe the fact that a change of scenery was exactly what Jarzy Zardes needed, because he was struggling very badly with the Galaxy for the last couple of years, but he scored a goal, which is good for him, and of course Columbus win, which is obviously good. They got revenge from what happened last year in the conference final, and as for Toronto, yeah, this is not looking good for Toronto, and there has to be some concern now for Toronto heading into that midweek clash with Tigres in the CCL. I mean, this week they drew 0-0 to Columbus, or not Columbus, but Colorado at BMO Field, and now they lost 2-0 to Columbus. So something is clearly wrong with Toronto, and I think both times they also started their strongest squad in both of those games, and both times they failed to get a victory out of it. And in this game, Toronto defense was not very good. The midfield was sort of over the place, and going forward, they just cannot finish. They were very lackluster going forward. Javinko had a couple of chances that he could have put away. Josie Altidore also had a couple of chances to put it away for Toronto, and yeah, I mean, if you're a Toronto fan, if you're a TFC fan, this is concerning heading into that upcoming match against Tigres, because you are not in a very good form. And it's also sort of concerning for the league itself, because this upcoming game between Tigres and Toronto in the CCL quarterfinal game is not just big for TFC, but it's also big for the league, because if TFC can knock down Tigres, which is one of the bigger powerhouse in Liga MX, this will prove that MLS is finally started to be competitive, and that it really kind of silenced the haters of the MLS and all those kind of troll Liga MX kind of people that say that, well, Liga MX will always be better than MLS because we always beat you in the CCL. So yeah, this is gonna be really big. I'm gonna be hoping that TFC can recover from this in their CCL match against Tigres and just be the TFC like they were last season, because so far in the last two games they're anything but that TFC team that won the treble last year. But yeah, either way, moving on, speaking of upset again, and this is, I think besides this one that might seem like an upset, this I really think was the biggest upset. Houston absolutely smacked Atlanta at BBVA Compass Stadium 4-0. Goals from Wenger, Senenderos, Manotos, and Seren. I mean, former Quakes player scoring a goal, and I'm obviously not happy about that. And also, he didn't score a single goal for us last season, so that just makes me also not happy. But yeah, Atlanta, what the hell happened to you guys? Where in the world was the defense and midfield in that game? I mean, Atlanta went down 3-0 at halftime and went down 4-0 in the first half. And, talk about the defense of Atlanta. That defense that I saw from Atlanta looked like Minnesota level kind of defense. And this is no disrespect to Loons fans, but it was just so bad that I honestly cannot believe it. We knew that coming into this season, we knew Atlanta had a good attack. We knew that they also have some problems with their midfields, and maybe their defense are kind of like maybe a bit of a weakness. But I didn't think that defense was that bad. I mean, that was just absolutely horrendous. And the 4 goals that they conceded was just, one of them was just giving the ball away in a very dangerous area, and I think it was Elise that just pounced on a bad giveaway, and that was like the first goal, and he basically just play it back into the middle, and Wenger of course tapped it in. And then they also were doing very bad on the set piece, and they were not closing down, and even the goalkeeper got into the action. I mean, Brad Kuzan on the 4th goal, he basically just punched it right into one of the Houston player, and that is just, it was shocking performance by Atlanta. And, I don't want to really try to overreact on the fact that Atlanta could be in deep trouble this year, but after putting that kind of performance, that is a really big concern, because Atlanta can have a very good attack. And talking about the attack today, their attack was very lackluster. Almiron missed 2 big opportunity in this game. One was an absolute sitter that was set up by Martinez right around the 35th minute mark, and then he also missed a penalty, which is kind of shocking because Almiron usually puts away penalties very easily. And Atlanta could definitely have put up a couple of goals in this game, and those misses was also big too, because if Almiron of course scored that, it would have been 3-1, and things would be getting a little bit more interesting. And if Atlanta can score 1 goal, then it can really kind of get them going. But instead, they score nothing, and they gave up those 4 goals in the first half. And yeah, I mean, this is not looking good for Atlanta. I'm just wondering, did that hyped kind of attack really kind of just overshadow the big problem they have in the defense and the midfield? And it also goes back to the fact that when they now do not have Carlos Camola in that midfield, and how bad it was a loss for them. And it seemed like in this game it was a huge loss to the fact that he wasn't there in the game. But as for Houston, I would say that this is kind of the statement win, but at the same time, this is what Houston did last season. This is a team that, they tend to kind of sit back and just trying to counterattack. And we know that Houston have a lot of speed, so that's why they're very effective on the counterattacking side. And in this game, they showed a couple of those kind of elements. And, this is a big win for Houston. And certainly I'm thinking that maybe Houston could be good again. And maybe I'm just one of those guys that is going to be sleep like last year, where I think Houston was not going to challenge, and I was just kind of like sleeping toward them, but they're going to prove everybody wrong again. So yeah, but either way, moving on to the next one, Philly versus New England. The Union beat the Revs 2-0. Goals from Fontana and Sapon. This was one of the many games I didn't watch this weekend, but this shouldn't be a big surprise because the Revs are absolutely horrendous. And, they got 2 red cards in this game. They finished the game just with 9 men. Delamay and Dame Delana or something like that. But whatever their name is, they got sent off in this game. One of them was I think it was a denial of goal score opportunity. I don't remember what happened with the second red card, but New England, this is going to be a long season for you guys. I mean, if you cannot even compete against the Union, which the Union are not that good either, then they look like they are just nailed to the bottom. And as for Philly, it's a good win, but it's New England, so I'm not going to say that this is just a really kind of a starting point for them to maybe make a push to the playoffs. But they can definitely carry this as a momentum for them in the next couple of games. And also, it's always good to see CJ Sapon getting the goal scoring chart again. I'm thinking that he's gonna score almost the same amount he scored last time. I mean, I know some people say that, well, he's not going to improve on what he did last season. It was a career year for him, but I don't think so. I think CJ Sapon is one of the best striker in the league, and it's good that he, of course, got off to the scoring sheet. Meanwhile, the very next game, Orlando City and DC United finished 1-1. Pino with the goal for Orlando City in the 93rd minute, literally right near the death of this game. Yasmil Assad with his debut goal with DC United, and I'll tell you what, there was a lot of controversy surrounded this game, and there was 2 VAR kind of decision in this game, and 2 of them were very controversial. The first one was right around the 16th minute when DC United got a penalty from a handball, and basically what happened was, I think it was Maddox that was kind of running toward the left flank area of the box, and when he tried to make the cross, I think Will Johnson was the one that trying to block away the cross, but instead the ball hit his hand. Now, the question about that is that when that ball hit his hands was near his hips. So does that mean that that is a position where his hand is kind of in an unnatural position? Because I've seen a couple of times where a player gets a player handball in the box, and that was like the same position that Will Johnson was. It was right around the hips, and those were not called penalties. And this one, of course, got called for a penalty. I mean, some will argue that maybe he could have just put his hand behind his back so that it doesn't struck him, but still, him putting his hand right near his kind of elbow area, or not elbow, but his hips area, I think that's a natural position. I really don't think that's an unnatural position. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of that? And then, of course, the second VAR decision, and also, by the way, fortunately for Orlando City, it didn't really cost them anything because DC missed a penalty. Maddox, of course, missed a penalty. It was a good save from the keeper to basically save it, and then ball was off the post, and basically Orlando City was able to clear after that. But the second VAR controversial decision, and let me just say that I have seen a lot of weird kind of footballer name in the world, but this one is probably one of the weirdest. I mean, PC. This is the thing that I am actually recording right now on this video, and yeah, I know for a fact that his real name is not actually PC. This is probably just his nickname, but that is a weird kind of nickname to have, to name after a device that everybody uses to go online and also do YouTube video. But yeah, he of course got sent off after he was going for the ball alongside with Yasmil Assad, and it seemed like when he was jumping up for the ball, his hand basically smacked Assad face, and that's another very kind of questionable one. I really think that shouldn't be a red card either, because there's just times where you see players do that, where they jump up the ball and they accidentally elbow somebody that was also going for the ball. I think when you jump, sometimes your hand sometimes does kind of swing wildly, and sometimes you accidentally hit a player. And in that case, I really think that, like, in most cases, that usually is either not a foul or at the very worst a yellow card. So, that obviously is another questionable kind of call, and I also don't think that should have been a red card. And I'm pretty sure Orlando City fan will be also fuming about that one, because they should never have gone down to 10 men. But fortunately for them, they of course got a late goal from Tino in the 93rd minute. That's also his debut goal for Orlando City. I'll tell you, there is a lot of debut goals from each team, and there's going to be more I'm going to be talking about later. But yeah, for DC, this is obviously, I mean, it's a good point for DC, but they're probably very frustrated the fact that they had a man advantage. And it was also interesting the fact that why in the world did they decide to bunker down when they were up 1-0 and had a man advantage? And they were looking very dangerously on the attack too, so I honestly don't get it. And for Orlando City, they're definitely happy the fact that they were able to salvage a point after just these kind of unlucky kind of circumstances with one of the player that I really don't think should have been sent off, and also of course the penalty situation. And yeah, but yeah, that game of course ended 1-1. Another game that ended 1-1 was this one, FC Dallas versus RSL. And I really think FC Dallas were the better team in this game, and they definitely had more of the chances. RSL did get a goal from the 25th minute by João Plata, but then they conceded a goal late in the game, and it was actually an own goal. And what happened was Uriti was trying to cross the ball in, and Silva basically was just in a very bad spot, and he was kind of caught in no man's land right in front of the net. And basically when Uriti crossed that one, he basically tried to clear the way, but instead he cleared it right into the back of his net. But I think for RSL, even with the goal that they conceded late, I wouldn't be that disappointed that they didn't get all 3 points, because I really think that they had a couple chances, but they also really weren't like in this game for majority of the game. And for FC Dallas, this is obviously very frustrating, because they had multiple chances to score a goal, and they really didn't have to rely on an own goal for RSL to equalize. And for FC Dallas, this is a season of redemption, and so far it has got off to a bit of a rocky start with just picking a point against RSL, and really almost didn't pick up any points in this game at all. So yeah, but either way, next up we're going to be talking about the game that I went to, and I talked about it a little bit in my vlog, but just to give you guys a full kind of, just after kind of like me doing that vlog, and now I have a day to like think about this game. We should have won this one more comfortably. We clearly should have won this game more comfortably, and the 3-2 scoreline is just the reason, due to the fact that we concede 2 really sloppy goals late in the game. And Molina of course scored both of those goals, and I actually cannot believe that all the guys I had mentioned about Minnesota, of how potentially could be danger, and there was a lot of guys for Minnesota, but I forgot about Kevin Molino. Molino is another guy that is kind of like under the radar, and that he can of course score goals for Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota actually does have a pretty good attacking force with Danladi, Ramirez, and Molino. Speaking of Christian Ramirez, I still don't know how in the world did he miss an absolute sitter right around the 75th minute. Like, seriously, it was like right there. I mean, okay, I think one of the Quakes defender, I think it was, oh god, I forgot who it was, but he kind of put him off a little bit. But seriously, he was 2 yards out in front of the box, and he just puts it over. And that they could have got one back right there, and if that one went in, this game would have ended 3-3. But obviously for the Quakes, it's definitely a good win. Houston, of course, good to see him scoring 2 goals in this game. That's definitely gonna be a very big kind of confident boost for him. Well, he's already very confident in the beginning of this game, but this just makes him more confident. And then of course Votko scoring his first goal of the season. Votko had a very decent game. I think you could, but besides Houston, you can also argue Votko was the man of the match, because not only he scored a goal, he was also the factor in that goal that Houston scored in the 27th minute. And for Minnesota, obviously, I really felt like they just dug themselves way too deep in the hole. I mean, concede like 2 goals in 2 minutes is just obviously very bad, and to go down 3-0, and really Minnesota wasn't really in this game until the last 10 minutes, until the Quakes decided to just completely switched off for no reason whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, they just dug themselves way deep off a hole that they can just try to climb back up to. And I think Minnesota, this performance, it's not a good performance, but at least you could also kind of say that, well, at least we tried to come back and we tried to make it interesting. I think that may be one thing that they're definitely going to carry into the next game, and certainly this season too, because Minnesota, I just think that this team just does not have the squad to really compete with the big boys, and it's going to be a struggle for them. But yeah, so that of course that's pretty much the Saturday games done and dusted. Now moving on to the Sunday game, and the Sunday game, only this one I actually watched. These 3 I actually didn't watch. I was actually planning to catch near the end of this one, but I got stuck in traffic when I went to watch that Sports Hop series, when I went to watch a football match, part of the Sports Hop series. And yeah, I mean, it was very frustrating, the fact that I couldn't catch the end of this one. But let's talk about this one first. Seattle versus LAFC. LAFC with a 1-0 win against Seattle. Alfaro got sent off in this game. Diego Rossi with the only goal of this game. And I really think that in this game, Seattle should at least deserve a point in this game. They completely outshot LAFC. They dominate this game for majority of the stretch. LAFC only had like 1 shot on target, and that was this goal by Diego Rossi. Other than that, Seattle had 22 shots, 7 on target in this game, and yet they just cannot put one into the back of the net. And I will say this for Seattle, they made a lot of change coming into this game, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that, they also have a midweek CCL game against Chivas. They're definitely going to rest some of their starters for that game, but you would think that against LAFC, a team that I didn't think that they were going to just go to Seattle and get a 1-0 victory, and especially the way this game plays and the outcome of the way this game kind of played, I thought Seattle was going to at least maybe get a draw or even win this game, but no. LAFC wins it, and that certainly is a big kind of win for LAFC and huge kind of morale boost for LAFC, because now you obviously got your first victory out of the way. We've seen expansion teams, how when they come into the league with so many unknown, and how it's always hard to try to get that first win, because you just don't know how the league works and how does other players in the league kind of like play against you, and how the squad that you build can really fit in this league. And in LAFC case, they build a squad that is pretty good, but there's a lot of unproven player, and also not a lot of depth in the team, but today they got a solid 1-0 win against Seattle, and that certainly will really kind of help them in the next couple of games. And now they can definitely think about how they can obviously compete with other teams. And maybe I was a little bit wrong about LAFC, kind of a little bit unprepared about that. Well, who am I kidding? If they have maybe just one injury on their team, I really think LAFC is still kind of doomed because they only have like 19 guys on their squad. But yeah, either way, next up, this is the one that I, of course, didn't watch, and I really didn't read a lot about this game. Vancouver wins 2-1 over Montreal. Goes from Kai Kamara, that is, and Alphonso Davies. The lone goal for Montreal is Mancuso, if that's how you say his last name. He scored in the 81st minute. And yeah, it's a good win for Vancouver. It's a win that you kind of expect them to get because Montreal is rebuilding this year. It's always good to see Alphonso Davies scored a goal. I mean, this kid is just so talented. And it's hard to believe he's only 17 years old. And another funny thing about Alphonso Davies is that in this match, he was by far the best player, but he couldn't receive the Man of the Match because the Man of the Match award was sponsored by Budweiser, and it was a beer company, and Alphonso Davies was not old enough to, drink beer or consume alcohol. So, yeah, that was a little bit kind of an interesting fact. Although I feel like they should have just give him the Man of the Match and just, make sure, if you do a Man of the Match award and maybe the Man of the Match award is just giving somebody a beer, just don't give him a beer. Just give him a soda or something else because he was by far the best player in this game. And, also Kamara, scoring his first goal with Vancouver. This is definitely a goal that will really help his confidence because last year Kai Kamara was nowhere with New England. He looked absolutely lost with New England, and maybe that has something to do with the Revs kind of system and how it just didn't fit him. But now he's at the Whitecaps, and now he scored a goal. Maybe he can, of course, get get himself going in terms of the goal scoring kind of ways and go back to his kind of old form. And I kind of think with Kai Kamara, this is the same thing with Jarzi Zardes about how these are two players that used to just light up the league, but all of a sudden last year they were in a really just a bad stretch. They had a really bad year, and now they're on brand new teams and trying to prove themselves that they still got it. And it looked like that might be the case for both of these guys because both of these guys also scored in the opening week. But yeah, either way, moving on to the last two games. Sporting KC against NYCFC. NYCFC, of course, won 2-0. Goals from Maxi Morales and Jesus Medina. Another guy that made his debut and scored a goal. I mean, it's quite crazy. And I'm not done with that. There's another guy right here that score on his debut in this last game. Well, you kind of already can see it, but I'll get to it in just a minute. But yeah, NYCFC with the 2-0 win. It was a pretty even game, I would say, but NYCFC, the attack, of course, was just too lethal for Sporting KC defense to deal with, and I said in the preview, this is going to be a defense versus attacking kind of game, and it turns out attacking won. And I also said in the preview that whoever scores this first goal is going to be crucial, and if NYCFC can score the first goal, then this could be a huge problem for Sporting KC, and that they could potentially lose this. Well, NYCFC scored the first goal, and Sporting KC just does not have enough going forward, and maybe that might be sort of a concern for Peter Vermeer's team of how they just don't have enough to go forward to try trying to score goals, and trying to beat these big teams. But as for NYCFC, it's a very good win. They did have a man sent off, and there was also a couple of controversial moments with this game. Also, Sporting KC originally got a penalty in the 78th minute, but then it was kind of like called back by VAR. And from what I saw with the penalty, where one of the NYCFC player basically made a challenge in the box, took out one of the Sporting KC player, and it looked like that was a penalty. It didn't look like he actually got the ball at all. And VAR is just been really controversial, and this week just doesn't help the fact that to trying to make it less controversial. It's just, I don't know. Like, if you ask me about VAR, I'm not really gonna give you a very kind of definitive opinion, because on one way I kind of like it, and on another there is something that needs to improve. But yeah, maybe I'll make a video about this, about the VAR system and what needs to improve and what can be a way to just make sure that decision gets right. And I'll make maybe like a individual video about that. But yeah, obviously that penalty was called back, and then there was like a red card, which I think that was the correct decision, because it was a denial of goal score opportunity. It was pretty clear that it was a denial of goal score opportunity, and Sporting KC almost got one back. The free kick actually was saved by the keeper, and then basically it bounced off the post. So yeah, Sporting KC were unlucky in this game, but I think NYCFC obviously deserved the victory. But lastly, we'll get to this game, the game that I just watched. It's the Galaxy beating Portland 2-1, goals from Kamara and Alessandrini. Blanco with the goal in the 66th minute, and also with this goal with Sebastian Blanco, I was actually laughing with this goal when Blanco scored, because what happened here was that Sebastian Blanco was kind of like going into the box, and he had a very kind of tight angle to trying to slot it into the back of the net, but somehow he decided to try to slot it into the back of the net, and David Bingham basically just let him do that. Like, the ball just goes under his legs and puts it into the back of the net, and I was just laughing at that goal, because I just say, yup, there you go, that is the reason why we got rid of David Bingham, because that is the thing that he did a couple of times last season. But in all seriousness, Bingham actually had a pretty decent game. I think he made like 6 saves in this game. Some of them maybe was just very easy save, but he did have a pretty decent game in this one, even with this kind of just a preventable goal, and that he should have clearly saved that and should not let Blanco score that. I mean, if you're a goalkeeper, the worst goals to concede is always when a striker is heading he's heading into like the near post, and that you obviously have the advantage because the striker has a very tight angle, and yet if you let that one in and if you don't cover your near post, it's always one of the most frustrating goals to concede, and that of course is the case. But other than that, LA did have a pretty good game. Kamara and Alessandrini, like I said, scoring the 2 goals in a space of 2 minutes, and for 2 minutes the Portland defense just basically went to sleep. And really, the Portland defense pretty much went to sleep throughout this whole game, because it was not good. And we knew that coming into this season, this was going to be one of the weakest kind of point of Portland, and it was on full display today, because there was a couple of times where the Galaxy player were able to went through. I thought Boateng in this game, he probably could have deserved a goal, because there was a lot of, he had like at least 5 chances to score a goal in this game. And then who else was it? Leggett also almost scored a goal for LA Galaxy, and really this game could have ended maybe 4-1 or 5-1 in favor of LA. Portland, They kind of come back into the game in the second half, but in the first half it was an absolute nightmare. Like they were just they just could not deal with this Galaxy team and the ferocious attack that this LA team has, and really they just cannot get forward also because they keep losing the ball in the midfield too. So yeah, obviously it's a good win for the Galaxy, and for Portland, it's obviously a frustrating loss, but the good news is that at least you show some fight in this game, which is obviously good. And now you just got to move on. And Portland, I know that I already mentioned about DC United with a very kind of crazy schedule, and also with LAFC with a crazy road schedule. Well, Portland also is another one that has a crazy road schedule because of the renovation at Providence Parks, where they're going to be opening. Their first 6 game on the road before playing their first home game in like April or May or something like that. So Portland's got a really tough kind of road, and these next couple of road games is not going to be easy on them too. So maybe some people that said that Portland potentially are not going to make the playoffs is kind of correct, because this is a team that although it has a pretty decent attack, the defense looked really shaky and looked like Minnesota level kind of defense. Oh god damn it, I just made another reference to Minnesota. I'm sorry, Loons fans, but actually, how about this? That they look like New England style kind of defense, because the Revs also have a big defense. I need to kind of stop picking on the Loons because of their bad defense, because the Loons, I'm pretty sure, should have a better defense. I'm guessing. No, I just kind of make that up. But either way, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Tell me what you think of these first 10 games. Which game stands out to you? Which game are you surprised with the result? Obviously, a lot of people is going to say these two, and maybe this one also. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I, of course, will be making my power rankings tomorrow. I'm going to just try to arrange all the teams from this. I'm just going to try to readjust each team of what position they are for the first week of the power rankings. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I, of course, will see you guys next time.